Do you want to hear the Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin 3, the realest breakdown? If so, stay tuned to this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. SLC, subscribe, like, and comment. This is the realest breakdown, Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin, part 3. Now, after some fights, I actually wait and put out the video the next day because I need time to think about and process what I've seen. Unfortunately for this fight, that is not needed because the fight was trash. I thought this fight was easily the worst of the trilogy. Almost everything that I've stated in my previous videos, if you guys follow the channel, came true. Triple G, let's start with him. Triple G is 40 years old, and I know some people say age ain't nothing but a number, but in this instance, Gennady Golovkin Triple G looked every bit of his age in the fight, and I'm talking about throughout most of the fight. It's hard to even score rounds for him, and it was almost blasphemous when you consider this as a trilogy, because most of the time, like let's say Eric Morales versus Marco Antonio Barrera, or Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez, which had a trilogy and then they had a fourth fight. But those are fights that ultimately they stand the test of time, right? This fight, not so much. I think the reason it looked like this is because of what I told you previously. Canelo Alvarez waited Golovkin out and he figured he had better experience at 168. Several fights there. He fought Rocky Fielding. He fought Caleb Plant to become undisputed there. He fought against Caleb Smith. He fought against Avni Yildirim, all these guys. Meanwhile, Triple G kept his whole career pretty much at 160. That plus coupled with other variables like Triple G has been inactive, right? Canelo Alvarez, you know, people were praising him and saying that, oh, Canelo Alvarez has been very, very active because he was fighting Yildirim and Caleb Smith in the month, in the span of like, and Billy Joe Saunders in the span of like 12 months. But it's not about fighting frequently. It's about who are you fighting. And at the elite level, I would rather see better fights and have the fighter fight twice a year. Unless it's like a prospect, someone up and coming. Yeah, you give them more fights per year, like a Brandon Lee or Jerron Boots Ennis. And for the most part, I know Brandon Lee got hurt in his last fight, but for the most part, they're not taking bad damage to the point where they would be out of the ring or need to be out of the ring. Canelo in round one came out aggressive, almost disrespectful, like to Golovkin. He fought very similar to how he came out versus Bivol. See, Bivol is not 40 years old, and Bivol fights different, has his own style, and he's much fresher, much more in his prime than Gennady Golovkin was. So Bivol corrected that quick, and he uses his footwork a lot different. Golovkin doesn't really, he's not known for like bouncing and using footwork like that. So completely different fighters, but Bivol corrected that because Canelo was trying to just blaze him and hit him with these haymakers. Canelo tried that same game plan with Gennady Golovkin, but Gennady Golovkin, he just stayed with his fundamentals and he was just jabbing. You know, just jabbing. Now, the sad thing about this fight is this is just not a trilogy fight. It just doesn't, in any sense of the word, live up to its predecessors. You know, just imagine a movie like, I remember Die Hard. I'm a huge fan of the Die Hard series. And then they had one of the Die Hards, like I think it was the very last one. It doesn't hold up well. I remember even the Live Free or Die Hard, that one was cool. But after that, they made an additional one, or maybe even several. And I remember it just wasn't the same. It wasn't like Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. And that's what this fight was. It just didn't live up to its predecessors, as I mentioned. Triple G looked very slow. Round one, you know, that's the word that comes to mind. Slow. Looked slow. He looked plodding. He looked like he couldn't pull the trigger. He looked like he couldn't get off the blocks. And it just looked like his timing was off by a lot. Like Triple G just didn't seem to have any, it almost was like he had never fought before. So it was such a regression. And when it's early in the fight, you kind of wonder, is he just like playing possum? Because there's no way Triple G trained for 6 to 12 weeks from what we've seen for past Triple G. And, you know, at the first couple of rounds, 3-4 rounds, I'm like, okay, he's 40 years old. Is he trying to bait Canelo Alvarez? Is he trying to, you know, make Canelo Alvarez overconfident, and then he's gonna like explode with this different part 2 of his game plan? But for the most part, that wasn't the case. He really just looked aged in the fight, you know? And I know the Canelo Chupapi Muñeños and the Canelo fans say, oh, you're hating. There's nothing to hate. The fight wasn't good, you know? I'll tell you what it is. And like I said, you shouldn't have clicked on this video if you didn't want to hear the realest breakdown, because that's fully what I intend to give you. Another thing that I thought was exceptionally weird when it comes to this fight with Canelo and Triple G. Canelo, he's fought pretty frequently, and you have Triple G, who just fought against Ryota Murata not too long ago. Initially, Triple G was supposed to fight like on New Year's Eve, and then for some reason the fight got pushed back, and then they end up fighting the first week of April of this year. So the thing that was interesting with this particular fight is I think Triple G from April to the second week of September fighting Canelo, and I understand Ryota Murata is not as good as Canelo, he's not as good of a fighter, but it still looked like Triple G had aged in that time, like Triple G in April versus September. So I thought that was extremely weird. I thought the fact that he had a fight earlier this year would be of benefit, because if he had any ring rust or cobwebs, maybe he could get that out of his system. But he still looked pretty slow. Timing was off. And surprisingly enough, even with all this, Canelo still couldn't drop him, stop him, never really even hurt him. Triple G even said post-fight, look at my face is clear, I feel good. You know, tonight is Canelo's night. And he was pretty accepting of the loss. But I think Triple G, even with his ring walk and his demeanor, he knew he was getting 20-something million. It looked like he was just going through the motions. And we know Triple G has a chin and things like that. I think this hurt Canelo even more, because everybody knew why Canelo picked him coming off the Bivol loss and had certain expectations. Like Triple G has been regressing, thought he lost to Derevchenko. He got hurt and lost early rounds with Ryota Murata. So this was expected to be a punctuating win for Canelo. But ironically enough, after Canelo was dominating the early rounds, he ended up getting hurt in round 9 and stumbling. And then from that point on, he seemed like he had to respect Triple G more, and he seemed a lot more tired towards the later rounds. And I thought round 12 was pretty sloppy, and it was a bad fight. So even though I predicted almost verbatim how this would play out in my videos, I even tweeted, and in my tweet, I literally said Ego Stradamus. That's how I know I'm the best when it comes to this boxing, and giving you guys the detailed information that is consistent. But I said this fight will be like Brandon Rios versus Mike Alvarado 3, where it's a huge disappointment and it's clearly the worst in the trilogy. And I put that before the fight. Fast forward to the future, since we've actually seen the fight now, you guys let me know what you guys believe. So you'll see it on the screen in this video. The tweet actually was done on the 16th. They didn't fight until the 17th. And I called it straight down the middle. And that's why I don't care about feedback. People saying, oh, you're hating and this and that, because people will say whatever they want, but the truth will be revealed over time. What's done in the dark comes to light. And I know what I was saying, I believe. And that's what this fight was. It was easily Mike Alvarado versus Brandon Rios 3, where the first 2 fights with Brandon Rios and Mike Alvarado gave the fans a lot of great memories. And it was a fun, scintillating fight where they were memorable. You know, someone to even say instant classics. The third fight, so much had changed. Ruslan Provodnikov made Alvarado quit. He had some troubles outside of the ring. You know, when time passes, time is unforgiving. So by the time Brandon Rios and Mike Alvarado fought for the third time, I was at that fight. It was in Colorado, and that's why I remember it so well. People were throwing beer cans because Alvarado quit again versus Brandon Rios, and it didn't live up to what the first two were. And I think that was dead on with Canelo versus Triple G3. And I'm not even mad that it's a dominant performance, like where Canelo pretty much won majority of the rounds, because it's how Golovkin looked. It was the opposition you were in. In fact, it's surprising that Canelo didn't look better given the fact of which version of Triple G actually showed up. Like, I can understand if it's Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gatti or Diego Corrales, rest in peace to those guys. But those fights, Floyd just showed he's levels above them thinking and skillfully. So that's why those fights look like that, and they were one-sided. This fight, Triple G, a horrible version of Triple G showed up, and Canelo still got hurt with him, still got a cut over his eye, and seemingly didn't really have too much that he could do with him. He never dropped him, hurt him, things like that. And it just makes you believe, imagine if they didn't wait 4 years and then he would have ran the rematch back a year after the second fight, you know? Or when they first signed the DAZN at the very least, maybe we would have got a different, you know, type of fight. So a huge L for DAZN. They spent $65 million on a fight that was utter trash, undercard trash. So that's my realest breakdown. I don't really have too much. It's not even worth me going on too long. The fight wasn't good. Let me know what you guys think. Canelo remains undisputed at 168. This is why, in my opinion, he's not fighting Charlos and the Andrades and, of course, David Benavidez of the world. Because, I mean, you're having a hard time doing away with a 40-year-old that you used to spar with, and you've shared the ring previous to this fight, 24 rounds. And imagine if Floyd Mayweather fought Marcos Maidana a third time, because we already seen a major difference from the first Maidana and Floyd fight and the Floyd Maidana 2. So imagine if Floyd, after sharing the ring with him 24 rounds, you don't think Floyd Mayweather would make even more adjustments and make it look even easier? So it's like, people keep saying Canelo's the face of boxing and he's improved since the Mayweather loss, but his flaws seem to be the same flaws. And I truly think this fight actually hurt him more than it helped him, because when it comes to Canelo being pound for pound #1, is that really look like a real thing? You fought a guy who had never fought at 168, who's 40, that you've already sparred with in the past, and you fought as a pro 24 rounds, and you didn't even really look sensational. So many questions. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. The realest breakdown, and I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxing Ego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new, interactive, and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.